Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. I'm carrying on my colouring page in Dark Fairytales by Kerby Rosanes. We are doing the double spread matchstick mouse, not matchstick mouse, matchstick girl. And I've done a base in, I think it was Inktense pencils. So now I'm going to use Polychromos and I'm going to go ahead and work on this page. Not sure yet how I'm best going to do it, so we'll just see and play with it as we go. Once again, I'm still having laptop troubles, so bear with me with the chat. I have to use other mediums to help me make sure that I can see all your chats. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to start again with the bricks and kind of move my way from there. Hi Noelle, how are you? Now, one of the things I'm personally working on is making sure that I do not over blend. What I've noticed that does is it's creating in my coloring pages a everything's too smooth. It's all too much the same and there's not enough variety. So I want to have a go at intentionally making sure that my pages do not, that they have a bit of texture to them. Whether I will accomplish that or not is debatable, but we're going to give it a good go. Okay, I'm just getting out a few pencils kind of randomly. I'm going to try and stick to this sort of color idea. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use earth green for like a grayish green, burnt umber for my shadows, Caput Mortum for the reddish brown, and then I've got olive green yellowish. And what I want to try and do is a bit more of a hatching and cross hatching kind of technique. I want to see how that will work over here on the bricks, but then when I get to the fabric I will do a much smoother blend on the clothing of all the characters, and then I'll probably do a smoother blend here in the swirl, so we can kind of see how that goes. Okay, not promising anything spectacular, just gonna play, and in the playing I think we will hopefully see some pretty good results. So I'm using Caput Mortum Violet 263 Polychromos, and I'm using a bit of a medium pressure, medium to light. Now when you look at bricks, they don't really look, they're not really smooth like a baby's bottom there, but they've got a rough texture, so I want to try and see if I can bring that kind of into them. Right, and also one of the things I've been learning is not to go diagonal, so you've got to kind of crisscross it like this. So this way of colouring now, my colouring is going to slow down because I do tend to take my time. Hi Carly, how are you? Right, in this section here, I'm going to actually leave that light so it's got a little bit of a, I don't know, a little bit something different. Hi Dawn, how are you? The other thing I like with Polychromos is I can rub them out. Prismacolors, I find the pencils kind of go very quickly into the tooth of the paper, whereas with polys I can still rub out more of that pigment. Welcome back, Dawn. So I'm finding holding my pencil like this is actually starting to hurt my wrist. So I'm going to just change angles. It's sort of trying to go in a similar way. Angela, how are you? Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Right. I am right now very surprised at actually how tired and how sore my wrist is getting, even though I'm not actually holding my pencil very hard. So this is an interesting experience. And what I'm thinking is that over the past couple of months, I've worked a lot on loosening up in how I approach and handle charcoal pencils and all of that. That either my wrist has become a lot more relaxed, or I'm just not fit anymore. It could be either one. Okay, so now I'm going to use the olive green yellowish 173, and I'm just gonna kind of cross hatch a little bit in here. Just bring it in some places. So kind of anywhere where I put in some greenery, I'm just gonna bring it back. Again, I'm trying very hard not to make this too smooth. I want it to have some character. I don't want my bricks to look blended out. I want the colors to kind of make sense. I don't need to blend it to death or layer it to death. Hi Kenny, how are you? And I know wherever I put my polys, the color is going to stay. And I'm quite happy with that, so putting it randomly. Okay, where else? Leave it there. Okay, so now I want my, I actually don't want this earth green, I want a blue. I think I'm going to bring in an indigo. Do I want an indigo blue? No, I don't want an indigo blue. I want an ultramarine. So I'm going to use a light ultramarine. And it's going to complement the Caput Mortum violet because this is almost like a reddish color. It's got a lot of red in it, and then with the blue it's going to mix together to create gentle purples and that sort of thing. So I think that will look really nice, and it will tie in with the color palette here. So again, I'm going to kind of cross hatch. These are the colors I want to layer. Now, with colored pencils, it's really, you are blending your colors when you layer. So if you're building up your layers, you will get these nice complements, especially if you don't blend them out too much. They will peek through and it will look really, really pretty. Now I do want to make sure I layer a lot because it's in the layers I'll build up the tonal values. It's not necessarily the blending that brings up the tonal values, it's the layering. Put it up here. Alright, so now I'm going to take my burnt umber 280 and I'm going to come into these shadows. Now I don't want to overblend here because I do like these blues and reds, so I just want to go in the creases. So I go one direction, then I angle it slightly to go at a different direction. So if I go up, then I want to come at a diagonal across, and that's how I'm going to cross hatch. Now obviously when I go on to different things, I won't necessarily cross hatch or hatch. I will do something slightly different. And just as a disclaimer, my approach or my attitude towards any of my coloring or my comments about what I'm noticing, that's just personal. I'm not saying that anyone else has to color the same way as I do or agree with me or anything like that. It's me just talking out loud and letting you know what's going through my head. It doesn't mean that I'm right, it doesn't mean that I'm wrong, it's just my thoughts. So, you know, that you can't go wrong in art. And I do consider coloring a form of art. We all color differently, and I think that that's great. You need to have your own, you need to enjoy it, and you need to have fun and just experiment with it. So what I'm doing today is I'm experimenting with a different way of coloring, and I'm saying, wow, how do I color differently to what I normally color, and what will the results be? If I cross hatch and do more of a sketchy type approach, will I still get a good result? Will my page still turn out nicely, or will I fall into bad habits or old habits? And these are just thought processes that I'm going through. It does not mean that anyone else has to agree with them or do them. I'm learning through my course that it's very important to play, to try new things, to ask questions, to kind of go, well, what if I do this? What if I do that? What will the results be? And that's how we learn new things and how we grow. And I really like challenging myself. But I appreciate that that's not for everyone, and that's okay. So I'm just going to do me and take you on an inner journey with me, and you can do you. And together we can make beautiful pictures. I've been drawing cats. I've drawn the same pose of cat six or seven times already, and to be really honest, I don't know if I'm actually satisfied. And I keep going and asking myself, okay, I've drawn it this way. How is it boring? Is this what I want to do? My whole thing is I have to create a drawing that I would put in a room that I like. So I like my bedroom, because my bedroom, especially when it's sunny, is warm, it's quiet, it's a safe haven. Normally I can go there and nobody will disturb me, so it's a bit of a peace and quiet. So I often, especially when the sun is out, feel like a cat curled up on a bed. So I thought I would draw a cat. So I've drawn this cat after I did a whole lot of studies where I tried to get my head around the body of the cat and how a cat's body actually moves. And so I did quick sketches and all sorts of things, and then I've picked a pose that I liked, and I've been working that pose 6 or 7 times. And at one stage I even drew the cat as a hologram, because I'm like, you know, I don't actually have a cat in my house. I've had cats before, but we can't have cats because we rent. So I thought, okay, let's try and see can I draw this as a hologram? So I found a picture on Pinterest and I drew it as a hologram. Still not sure about that one. So what I did next was I stopped, took a break. Then I was looking at some other stuff, and I found this other person's work, and they'd drawn a beautiful cat and they'd given it a bit more of a wispy kind of look. And I thought, ooh, hang on, what if I draw the same cat in the same sort of format, but this time, what if I take, because I'm using charcoal, if I take charcoal and I take my eraser and I erase it so that it looks like it's kind of disappearing, so it's there but it's not there. And then I thought, okay, well, I need to add sunlight, so I took a yellow pencil and I added sunlight. And now I'm still questioning my decision, because if I stopped at the first drawing, it would have been a pretty drawing, but I want to challenge myself. I want to keep pushing for what is it that I'm looking for, but I don't know how to express to myself. And I'm trying to take that same sort of attitude of trying things and experimenting and not really worrying about the results, and letting my experiments teach me. And I'm trying to bring that kind of thought pattern into this coloring page. So it may end up being an absolute flop, or it might end up being okay, I don't know, but it's going to be fun to try, and that's kind of what I'm after. Oh, thanks, Kenny. I appreciate that. I mean, some of the things that I've been thinking about, and again, these are just my thoughts, is whether I color in a page or whether I do a drawing or whatever I do, I want it to be unique. And I mean, it will be unique because I make it, and it's the only way I can do it, and that is the point. But I also don't want to do things the same way all the time, because that really can get boring. So I want to break out of my box and see how else can I do things. How can I make whatever I'm coloring or drawing, how can I make it interesting? And I think that's really my point, you know. Because you can have lots of pretty pictures and they'll look really pretty and they'll be nice pictures, but are they the pictures that make you stop and go, wow, I like that? Or, oh, I'm not sure about that one. It's these internal dialogues. Anyway, I'm a deep thinker, so this is just a little bit of a peek into how my brain works. Alright, so I'm actually thinking I might need some grey, some dark grey, because this is looking good, but I want it to be a bit deeper. At the same time, I also know I need to develop the rest of the page, so I might just finish this on these bricks, and then I'm going to stop here and work on the rest of the page and see if I build them all up, will it work? Because at the same time I need to remember that these bricks I want to be in the background, so that means I don't actually have to work with them as much as the rest of the page. But I am going to bring in some dark indigo over here because I think that will look really nice. I need some cool colors here. I did watch the video, I think it was Cat and Paste made on YouTube, about the colouring community and how back in 2013 it was a very open, carefree, you know, community, whereas nowadays it's become more of a pay to play kind of thing. And I really appreciated that kind of video. And I can't edit videos at the moment because I don't have my laptop. It's still being repaired. So anyway, I'll mention my thoughts here just for something interesting to listen to. And you guys, if you want to, you can let me know your thoughts, or not, I don't mind. But basically, as far as my channel goes, I have thought of memberships and that sort of thing, but because of how inconsistent I am and a bit unreliable at the moment, it doesn't sit on my conscience to even set up a membership or even a Patreon or all of that. And my main reason is because it doesn't sit right with me to do something like that and then not deliver. I just really don't like that idea. So I don't want to set up memberships on my channel. I want my channel right now to stay as a place where anyone who's interested in art or coloring or anything like that can come, and they can just find a community of friends, a community of shared interests, and enjoy coloring just for what it is and what coloring brings, or art, because at some point I'm probably going to add other arty stuff to my channel. I am coming up to the end of a sketchbook, and although it's not I don't think it's very good, I will still share it because I think there's something nice about seeing the not polished pages behind an aspiring artist or an artist, and you know, it kind of gives a bit more of a relatable thing than very polished pages, as beautiful as those polished pages are, and I do aspire to beautiful pages. I do want my channel, especially at the moment, to stay a place where anyone can join and it's not restricted. Now, I understand why people need to do paid memberships and all of that sort of thing, and I don't begrudge that at all. I do understand why people don't want to have to pay and they can't afford it, they don't want to, that sort of thing. And I like the idea of my channel being a place where things are accessible, and though, you know, there's like a friend. I want to be like that artsy friend that you can come up to and just color alongside with or do art with. It might change in the future, I don't know. I'm not going to make promises. I'm not going to cast anything in stone. I just thought I'd let you know my heart right now. I'm trying to stick with my live streams because I have this time carved out. Making other videos right now is really tricky for me, just to juggle and balance, and my channel is dipping because of that, and it will dip. But I also don't want to play to an algorithm. I want to create things for people. I don't want to chase an algorithm or anything like that, because it's just not who I am. It annoys me that there is such a thing as an algorithm, and if you want to be successful, you have to do what the algorithm says. And I guess a part of me is kind of rebelling against it and saying, no, I don't need an algorithm to be successful. I don't think that our lives should be reduced to that. So those are my thoughts. That's kind of where I'm at, what I'm standing for. Yeah, I wish I could have more time to make more content for you guys. It's just not feasible right now. I don't even know when I'm going to get the time, but I know that the things are seasonal, and this season will be but a short blip in time, and before I know it, something else will open up. So yeah, I'm gonna kind of be open-handed with this for now and see what may come and what changes. And for those of you who have stayed with me all this time and been so patient with me, I really greatly appreciate you and value you, and I want you to know that I show up for the live streams for you, because I do appreciate and value you that much, that I want to keep showing up for you. Oh, thank you, Kenny. Yes, paying for someone on Patreon, you know, it's a great way. I don't see why everything has to be paid memberships. I mean, there was something, what was it? I was looking at something just the other day, and I got really annoyed because I had to, oh, it was Instagram. So I'm on Instagram, and next thing I know, it pops up this thing. If you don't want ads, pay a £4 or whatever money it was premium. I'm like, are you kidding me? I don't want to have to pay to not have adverts. I would like to actually just not have adverts. So yeah, I was slightly irritated by that. I had a slight little rant. I guess, you know, the other thing for me is I want to know in my heart of hearts that if I was to set up a Patreon or something like that, that I'm adding value and I'm giving value. You know, I don't want to do it like just because everyone else is doing it, kind of thing. And that's why I've never set up membership on my YouTube channel. I think the most that I've got is actually a coffee account, and even that I don't really advertise much because I just don't see the point of it right now. Yeah. And I think you can get such a thing as a market that's oversaturated. And I think to an element, all these, even Patreon, there's an element where it's probably oversaturated. And I'm not saying that the people who offer Patreon services that it's a bad thing. I'm just saying the more people do it, the harder it is to kind of distinguish yourself. Anyway, those are just my opinions and my thoughts. They're just an opinion. Okay, I'm not sure about this right now. I think I need to build up more of the page. I like this purpley brick here. I really like that. Okay, I'm not sure what to do anymore, so I'm gonna move into, I think, some of this background, and I think I'm gonna need like a sky blue. I've got my indigo blue, and I think I'm gonna need like a coal. Oh no, I can use a Paynes Grey. I love Paynes Grey. Alright, so I'm going to move probably around here and kind of see what we can do. I don't know if my sketchy approach is really working. I do find the Polychromos they're just different to Prismas. Prismas, I can get them to look very deep and rich very quickly. With Prismas, with Polys, I find I have to kind of do it a lot. It takes a lot longer. Okay, so I'm getting lost. There are many times where I'm coloring and I kind of just don't know where I am. So Paynes Grey along underneath all my leaves. I think what I'm going to do with baubles is I'm going to colour them, or maybe use a paint marker and then go over the paint marker with a gel pen. I think that could look really pretty, and just do like embellishing with a gel pen. I suppose you could have done a white Christmas tree. Yeah, Paynes Grey is a great colour. Can do a lot with it. Even in watercolour, I love Paynes Grey. You can get a really nice grey if you mix, I think it's Ultramarine and Cadmium Orange with a bit of, I think, burnt sienna. You can get some nice greys with that. I'm just trying to find all the very deep shadowy areas and kind of put my Paynes Grey in there. So I'm kind of coming down to this bottom section here. Right now here is actually yellow. I'm not really sure about this wispy stuff. It's like I want it to be very ethereal and that sort of thing, and I'm not sure how I'm going to get that. I've seen pictures or versions of this, and someone's version had like a red tablecloth, and I'm like, maybe I should have done a red tablecloth. But it's fine. Because I think these splotches here, I think that's snowfall. So it gets a little bit lost because I'm like, well, if I do everything white and then I have white on white, it's not going to work. Unless I do whitey blue smoky thing, and then this is like gold flecks, almost like magic, to kind of show it's magical. Could do that. Wow, it's very, very detailed. Okay, I'm getting bored. I'm bored. Okay, I'm gonna swap to indigo blue. Nope, dark indigo. Dark indigo, and I'm just gonna try and cross hatch, because the idea with the cross hatching is, I'll just show you a blank piece of paper. You go one way. The closer your strokes are, the darker it will be. If you want them further apart, it looks a bit more sparse. So you go one direction, then you go at an angle, and it will create it much darker. And then I suppose you go at another angle, and this is how you can cross hatch your layers. Don't go that way. You can go this way, and you can see it just ends up being very layered, and you can get into more of the tooth of the paper, depending on what you're colouring or drawing. So if you're doing fur, you would do tapered strokes like that, where you flick it, and you could also do that for grass. But you need to just make sure you vary your pressure and vary the direction of your strokes, and you can create fur or grass. But if you were doing skin, I would probably go more of a circular and kind of blend smoothly like this, because you want a smooth blend. And then I think with like trees, I would probably alternate between a hatching and a cross hatching, depending on where I'm going. And these are supposed to help you with texture. So I'm trying to do a bit more of these styles today and see where that goes. But then when I do hair, I'll go to this style. Anyway, that's the idea in theory. I always feel like the Polychromos is just not as rich a color as Prismacolors. I don't know, maybe I'm just fussy. And because I'm layering multiple shades or colors, I don't have to go over everything and just put the idea down. Okay, so now I'm going to use my sky blue and see how this goes. Alright, this is the dark indigo, and I want to just smooth this out here. Hi Chrissy, how are you? Hi Patrick and Cowgirl, it's so great to have you. Don't worry, you've still got another while before the live stream is up, so you're not too late. I am using Polychromos in Dark Tales by Kerby Rosanes on top of an Inktense base. I used Inktense to do a base color. Yeah, I'm trying out different hatching and cross hatching, and sometimes reverting back to my old blending habits, but I don't really mind because it's all okay. It depends on how the page wants to turn out and what works best. This is the story of Matchstick Girl. It's actually a very sad story. So she's a very poor girl and she goes around selling matches to earn her living. And it's a cold winter's day and she sits down. She's been turned away. She can't, she's got no food, got no shelter. So she lights matchsticks to keep her warm, but she's got, I think it's 3 matchsticks left in the box, and she's using the matchsticks to help her keep warm. And she's curled up on the side of the road, and it's cold, and she's getting drowsy. And by the time the 3rd matchstick comes up, she has, suppose, a vision of her grandmother. Now her grandmother has passed away a while ago, and she was recalling her memories of her grandmother, but basically her grandmother comes to her, and there's a little bit of a write-up on her interaction with the grandmother. And by the time the matchstick has died down, she has gone to be with the grandmother and she dies. But she dies happy with a smile on her face because she's been reunited with her beloved grandmother. So it actually is a sad story, very sobering story. It's not one of the fairy tales that has a happily ever after and a Prince Charming coming and rescuing her. But it is sweet and sad all at the same time. But yeah, I'm sure you can find it on the internet and just have a read up on it. It's quite a, I considered it quite a, I thought it was quite well known. I could be wrong though. It's one of those cases when a person has heard of something, then they think everybody has. So my apology. I've apparently fallen into that category. But yeah, it's kind of like The Prince and the Pauper, not The Prince and the Pauper. There's another fairy tale about a prince and he gets turned into a statue and gets visited by a sparrow. That was another beautiful story, but also very sad. But yeah, I mean, this fairy tale, the way Kerby Rosanes has portrayed it, in all honesty, I don't think is dark at all. I think the Grim Reaper is probably the only part that's dark. But then going back into probably that time of day, it wouldn't have been unknown to think of a Grim Reaper coming to collect a soul. It's just in this case she goes to be with her grandmother. The Grim Reaper doesn't take her soul. So that's probably the only dark twist to it as far as Kerby's version goes. But then if you go and you think about like Terry Pratchett and how he portrayed death, yeah, it doesn't really make the Grim Reaper that scary really. He's just doing his job. It is a sad story. Either which way, it's a sad story. And it does have a sad ending, in the sense that she died. But if you look at it at the fact that she died happy and content because she went to be with her grandmother, maybe it did have a happy ending. I don't know. Either which way, it is sobering. Here I am using Paynes Grey. Okay, let's go to a dark indigo and just a bit here. Okay, going back to the sky blue. Okay, I have a Posca pen here, so let's see how it will look if I outline this. think if I do it like this, it will look okay. Sometimes I find I have to step back, look at it, and then come back. So I'm going to just do a small section, and then I'm going to move on to a different part of the page. And then next week I'll probably know how I want to finish this section. I quite like the wispy white bits. I'm hoping by outlining it like this, it will create a bit more of a, I don't know, like a snowy backdrop or something. And if I don't like it, I can always color over it. Oh, thank you, Carly. Some of the, I think he's got a couple of South American fairy tales. Now those fairy tales I'm not very familiar with. I'm more familiar with the, you know, the Western fairy tales. And a couple of the other European ones. You should definitely be able to find the Fairytale online. Andrew Lang is normally quite a good one. I've got a book here called The Blue Fairytale Book by Andrew Lang. I think it's here. I'll try to dig it out for next week, and I'll give you, if you haven't read it by then, I can figure out a way, and maybe I can read it to you. It won't take me the whole 2 hours to read. So if you don't mind listening to me read for about 15-20 minutes, I can read you a nice story. I like reading because I read out loud to my boys, so it will give you an overview at the back of the book. So let's see, page 79 and 78. So, the little match girl. In this Danish fairy tale, a poor young girl wanders the streets barefoot on a cold New Year's Eve, trying to sell matches to passers-by. Desperate to stay warm, she lights a match to warm herself. In the match's flame, she sees a vision, a warm stove. She lights a second match and sees a table laden with Christmas treats, and a third match shows a beautiful Christmas tree. Lighting a fourth match, she sees her kind grandmother, who has passed away. She continues lighting the matches to keep the vision of her grandmother alive. Her grandmother hugs her, and she feels less cold and alone. The next morning, the girl is found frozen to death, with a smile on her face and burnt-out matches scattered around her. Kerby captures the longing of the girl and the shadowy darkness that will envelop her in death. So that's what the back of the book says, which is not far from pretty much is what the fairy tale is. I didn't make this one up. Yeah, I can try and make a picture for you. I know you liked it the last time I did it. Colouring and colouring and story time with Ailey. Join now to be entertained. Okay, I think this section is not too bad. I know, it is very sad. Poor thing. Although at the time it was written, it was a thing. She would have been a poor beggar girl. I don't know what happened to her parents. Go for it. Have a look into it and let me know your thoughts. No, it's not a cheerful story. It is a sad one. And if you're a person who's more empathic and compassionate, it will probably get you more in the heart than other people who are more removed, emotionally detached from stories. I mean, if I read it to my husband, he will be like, oh, okay, that's sad. He won't feel it necessarily the same way I do. But then different things will actually get his empathic side a lot more. So I mean, what I'm trying to say is different people react to stories differently. Okay, I need to bring this down so you can see what I'm doing. I've gone back to my Paynes Grey. I'm so glad you enjoyed it. I mean, okay, like in my version, if I was to make up a story, I would say that the Grim Reaper is having a contest with the godmother, and he's kind of like, she's almost mine, I'm gonna get her before you do. But you'd have to make up a wager to kind of make the story a bit more amusing. You could have like two sides, bring in some Greek mythology or something like that. Grim Reaper and his mother had a Christmas bet one day. Yeah, I feel it in the heart. Yeah. I find the older I've gotten, the easier I cry. But then again, I think I've had to work on allowing myself to cry. I tend to suppress my emotions a bit too much, especially with movies. So, yeah, when I was younger, I used to, if I felt myself wanting to cry in a movie, I'd actually get up and I'd try and find a way to go into the kitchen or somewhere, and I'd try and hide that I was sad. And I think that habit kind of stuck with me. So I feel sadness and all of that when I watch films or movies, but I tend to kind of swallow it instead of letting it out. I think it was over Christmas I rewatched The Holiday, and the section of the movie where one of the main characters is talking about how they are juggling different things and different roles, because parenting was involved, and I could relate. It started getting to me. I was like, no, here we go, getting choked up. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my dark indigo. I'm going to try and focus to make sure I color in the screen. Now I need to make sure I don't do her hair too blue. She needs to still look like a bit of a grandma. Alright, so now I'm going to use my sky blue, and I'm just going to work on places and just sort of try and complete this section. Maybe the grandmother should have been a bit lighter. Oh well. Thanks, Kenny. Take care. Have a good week. Thanks for stopping by. Hi Laurie, how are you? Alright, I'm gonna bring some pine green and I'm gonna start working on my tree here. Now I'm gonna do my permanent green olive. And I do want some light green. Now I've chosen this shade of green because I want to bring some of the warmth up into the tree, just to balance the page. If I used a different green, so like this green for instance, this is a much cooler green, this light phthalo green, it's got more blue tinges to it, whereas this has got more yellow, and the yellow is going to help balance and bring a bit of warmth to the tree from the middle of the page by the fire or the matchstick. Okay, so my color combo for the tree now is light green 171, permanent green olive 167, and pine green 267. And then Paynes Grey for the deepest shadows, which is 181. And that would be my color combo from dark to light. So this sort of range. Let's see if I can get it nicely for you. Okay, So that's the color combo I'm going to use. So I'm going to go back to my pine green, and I'm just using like a flicky motion just to help me create a bit of texture on the tree. I'm doing well, thank you, Laurie. How are you? Hope you've had a good weekend. Ah, fabulous. I'm glad you had a great weekend. All right, now I'm going to go in with my light green. So here on this edge here, I wanted to get a little wispy because it's quite close to this like magical wispiness by the grandmother. All right, let's bring in a bit more of that permanent green olive up here. And then just And then I'm going to use a bit of Naples Yellow in here. Just to show a bit of the candlelight. So it's all a bit connected. Some cadmium orange. And a little bit of Scarlet Red. So I'm just erasing the baubles. I think I have my electric razor somewhere. Yes, here we go. Okay. Hi Brittany, how are you? See, this is what I love about polys, is you really can erase a lot more. Whereas my prismas, I don't tend to get as much erased. Right, I think that's pretty much it. Okay, I'm going to zoom out and we can have a look and see how it looks, and we'll carry on with this next week, and hopefully we'll, in about 3 or 4 weeks time, it will be done. Okay, let's have a look. There we go. So I don't think that's too bad. Yeah, I think it looks great. Right, everyone, thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to love and leave you and go and do a few other things that need to get done. I hope that you all have a really, really great week ahead. We've got hopefully a relaxed week, And I look forward to seeing you next week Monday, and we'll carry on working on this double page spread. All right, everyone, take care. Thanks so much for hanging out, and I'll see you soon. Bye.